Okay, so this, are you seeing anything on Twitch right now?
No, I don't even see how many people are watching anymore.
Yeah, I don't either. All I see
So,
is Twitch says we're offline. This is what we get for the last couple weeks not really having any issues. Now we get a big one, and of course, you know, I'm without my partner.
it's okay. We'll get through it.
Yeah. Okay, so Twitch is lagging. Diva is sick. Apparently, she's got something that may require some surgery. So she's been in the hospital for a big chunk of the week, and she is not here today. I know my thoughts are with her, and I hope that she gets well very soon. This is the DTC Roadshow. I'm Findish from the Dimension Touring Company blog site, and with me today is Kitasia from Deepwood, which is a North American shard today. And
Hi guys.
Hey Kit. And to start off with on news, if you've read the forums lately, then you saw that Mordecus put up a big post last night about a bunch of NPCs that are coming with 3.2. How they're going to be distributed, we don't know yet. I imagine that some of them will likely be very difficult to obtain, but hopefully some of them will actually not involve too much grind, for lack of a better word. That's about all there was with the news. Pretty much everyone is blown away right now by the possibility of a 5th calling that came out from PAX East last night. For contests, Luvinet's contest is still in effect until the 20th of March. All information for that is on the forum, so if you want to enter, please check that out. And as far as the rest goes, we'll just go ahead and get started. Now this is Sweethearts. This is pretty much your signature dimension, Kit. Would you agree with that?
It's the one that most people look at first when they start looking through dimensions. Yeah, because it's so high up on the list. And the only reason I say it's high on the list is because it was one of the first dimensions out.
And that's also pretty rare that it would be one of the first dimensions out when it's a Boglin Boggle, which you had to do a Storm Legion puzzle to get this, right?
Right. Yeah, shard first. I didn't even care about achievements until this came out, and I just went bonkers, and I had to get it first.
You'd certainly put it to good use. But boy, there is just a ton of pink here, isn't there?
I love pink. I have this bad habit of buying things that are pink around my house, and it started with my kids because I had 2 little girls, and I just fell in love with pink. And so when I built this, it was the cherry trees, cherry trees, cherry trees.
Well, you know, I don't think I could imagine a Kitasia dimension that wasn't pink somewhere.
I know, I just want to put it in everywhere, but, you know, you can only have so much pink.
And that really makes these aqua leaves in here have a big contrast with it too, since they're such a pretty blue-green against all that pink.
Yeah, that was what I thought when I put them together. Plus, I love the aqua leaf color. It just, I don't know, it's my favorite color of tree.
Now, the original incarnation of this won the Joy of Dimensions contest that was held in 2013, but you've rebuilt it since then to reflect the item limit increase that we got when we went free to play.
Yeah, and plus we got a lot more items out. It actually changed between the live stream of the Dimension contest and what it originally was because I didn't know I had won. And when it was over, I was like, well, I wanted to add all the new wedding items and everything in and build a cake. And so I just started changing it. And right as I finished was when Elrar showed up in here and told me that I had won and he wanted to know if I'd be available for the live stream. And I almost fainted. I was like, oh my God.
Well, this is just a gorgeous dimension, and your cake is very well. It turned out very well.
Yeah, Elrar, when he did the live stream, he's like, and this is one of our new wedding cakes. And then he's like, wait, no, never mind, it's not.
And then you've got the dominoes in here making up the stove and the refrigerator. And you don't see too many of these out and about now.
Yeah, I think I got shard. Yeah, I did get shard first for getting all of those too. I've always been into trying to get dimension items as fast as I can when they come out because I don't know, I just love them and I like to hoard them and collect them and I'm so bad.
You are not alone. I know when I first started building dimensions, this one just really blew me away. You know, I would never ever build houses at first because I could not build one that came out like this.
Well, as I always tell everybody, especially when they're starting new, this was a box. That's all I started with in this dimension was a box. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how to build. I just put in a box. And then things just started falling into one spot and then another. And then I thought of making this little thing and I turned this and and every one of my dimensions just starts with a box. And, you know, and that's all anybody needs to start with and you build from there. So it doesn't matter if you're new or if you're older, you know, if you don't know what you're doing, just start with something really simple.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And if you're having fun, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks of it because you're doing it right, you know?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I know I always build for myself. I don't ever build for what anybody else might think, unless, you know, guild dimensions are different, but or if it's a commission, then it's different. But if it's just for me, then it starts out being just for me. But this is a gorgeous little cottage, and you are really famous for your little cottages.
I just can't seem to get past gardens. And like when I built this and the item limit was half of what it currently is now, it was really devastating because there is so much more I want to put in here. But I mean, until the engineers can figure it all out, you know, I understand why. But there's still, I want to put in, because it's like a little honeymoon suite, and down in the water I want to put a watery grave for, like, you know, when you die with your honey, you got to go somewhere, and that would be perfect. And I want a little back garden, which, you know, I have a tiny one, but it's not what I dreamed of. And then, of course, you know, you're heading down to the water, which is where the gazebo is after the boat. And when I added that, I had really wanted that in the beginning over there, but there was no way, because it's 800 pieces. And when I first built it, it was before Toolbox. Of course, I came back after I discovered Toolbox and straightened everything, but it was so huge that I had to build it alone in its own dimension, and it was just there by itself. So when the item limit increased, I directly brought it here.
Yeah, this gazebo is just stunning. And it's all made with the wood planks, which just goes to show that planks are not wood. Plain wood is not so plain after all.
I love building in the wood. I just do. I have a lot of off creations that will never fit in a dimension, like fences and other gazebos and different things that just they're too high of an item count. But I just love to build in the wood, so I just build them and leave them off in their own little whatever and leave it closed. But yeah, the wood and the berries, if I could build entire dimensions out of them, I completely would. I just love them.
Oh, for sure. The sweet berries.
Yeah, when they had the dimension contest, everybody, all throughout the years, you hear everybody going, well, I think so-and-so copied me. Well, I'm going to tell you now, they probably didn't. Because even during the dimension contest, before all of us knew each other, Radish and I had created almost identical things out of the berries. And, as far as decorations went, and it wasn't until the contest that we saw each other's, and it was like, holy cow. And we created them probably about the same day.
Yeah, well, even before free to play, we really didn't have that many dimension items, and it was really common to see. I think she calls it synchronicity, where two people unrelated come up with the same idea.
And I find it happens a lot because we are a lot less limited now in items that we can use, but still, when somebody sees an item, you almost always think the same thing, same color, same, like you're like, oh, this will work perfect for this, and then you go into another dimension, you're like, holy cow, they made almost the same thing. But that's because it's our minds, and that's how we create, and that's how we see. And so I never ever even think of somebody, even if they did copy me, I could care less. And this one doesn't have the full item count because I was going to create something else in here, but then I got distracted with other real life, so. Unfortunately, that has taken a big chunk out of my building is real life lately, so.
Oh yeah, it happens. But the one thing I really enjoy about this one is that when you rebuilt it, or when you freshened it up, you didn't take away the things that made it such a really awesome dimension in the first place.
Yeah, the way it originally was, I had made my own pink tree because we didn't have cherry trees at first. They came out when fishing came out, and I had it right here. I built it out of the pink flowers and a snag, and I would like to put that back, but it was a huge chunk of item count itself because the leaves were like a billion different pieces. And then the cabinets I'd like to fill back up. But that's pretty much the only thing that's really changed other than adding items. I had to take away a few things to add the wedding stuff, but one day I would like to add them back.
Yeah, well, who knows? Maybe someday we'll all get the chance. I know there's a couple of my own dimensions that I've not quite done, even though the item limit says it's done.
Yeah, and and I do understand, and I know it's so frustrating to the devs that we are like, give us more. Yeah, so that's this one I just added a lot of. I like flowers. I'm so bad. I can overdo flowers so easy.
That's not really such a bad thing, though.
I would like to see them add different types of cherry trees than just the twisted and the the regular ones that we have now. I would like different, all the ones that you see in moonshade. There's a lot of different cherry trees that are in moonshade, and I'd like to see them add like apple blossom trees or plum trees or something that's not just the pink flowers but other flowers.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure that if they gave us the gray garden as a dimension, you would go in there and just go nuts. But this is an awesome, awesome little place. Definitely, as one of the original dimensions, definitely worth checking out in person, just for seeing what we can do with limited items and showing that plain wood isn't really that plain after all. But the next one that we're going to is actually my favorite, and it's Sweetbriar.
It is my favorite too. It's one of the dimensions that, it's one of the items that was won with the dimension contest. So Cumberland got it first because she was first prize. I was grand prize, so I got it second because they wanted to make sure that she got world first. Which I didn't mind because she only got it like 2 seconds before me. And those of you who don't know, Cumberland was one of the original Dimensioners, and she was really nice and wonderful, and she moved to Australia, so we haven't seen her for a really long time.
Yes. And you've got a lot of the prizes from Joy Dimensions in here as well, with some of these fey flowers that no one else can get.
Yeah, there's the blooming ones and the budding, and I really wish that everybody could get them. They were supposed to come out within that year, was what we were told. They have not come out, and I don't know why, because they're really beautiful, and I would love for everybody to be able to use them. Now, you'll notice that they don't normally light up, guys. They have orbs in them to light them up, so, but they're giant cages, and I love them, and they were the only reason I joined that contest was to get these fair light cages.
Now, were you only given like a limited amount, like so many, and that was it, or do you have the ability to get more if you need them?
I have the ability to get more if I need them. They had their account wide, so anytime you make a new character, you get them. All of the dimension items. So yeah, and it wasn't until later that they stopped doing that, which I think they should continue to do that for all the other items. If other people win, like Sailor Statue, I think she should be able to get as many as she wants, and
Oh, definitely. And here's some more of these wood planks.
Yeah, I love lattice. I don't know, I love it. I could build all day in lattice, and if I have gazebos that are so big in lattice that there's no way to put them anywhere because you can't build anything else with them.
And Sweetbriar is a place that definitely brings a young family to mind.
Yeah, when I started building it, my kids were, they were going off and moving out, and I was feeling sad and wanted babies, but I don't want babies,
Somebody else's babies are fine. And just borrow them and then send them home.
I'm waiting for grandbabies. It's not happening.
Now, if there was an item that they would bring out from that that we could all get, what I would like to see are these blue benches here.
Yeah, I love the, and you know, this is one of the very few dimensions. I only have a couple of dimensions that I actually put these items in because I feel guilty having them and not being able to share them. But this is one dimension that I went absolutely bonkers with as many of the items as I could. One of my favoriteest things in here is the baby. You know, I love my baby. So when I made it, it was also back when this dimension didn't hold as much as it does now, and it was in its own dimension. And when I had created it, my friend Zygos, he's like, you know, you gotta put this in, and I'm like, no. And I can't just get a kitten. I have 4. That doesn't work.
Well, the baby in here is adorable. And just all the details that go with it as well, like the little bottles made from carnival lanterns.
I especially like at night when they light up, because then I don't know, I just like it when they light up. But this dimension looks so different, and all of the different times of day that I just couldn't put a time of day in it because it's just pretty all the time.
Yeah, it is.
And I am one of those people that can't just go, I need a chair, here's a chair. I try to put more into it until I run out of item count, and then it just becomes a chair. It's horrible. Sometimes I think, why can't I just use a chair? Like with these, there was no item count, so they're just chairs. I just couldn't do more.
And this is the original version of the Kick-Ass Stove. That is a shared set on your site, which is riftdimensionaddicts.com.
Yeah, when I made that, I just thought it was really pretty, and then you were like, you need to put it up there for me. I'm like, I really didn't think anybody would use it, but I guess people did like it.
Yeah, I used it. I've used it quite a bit.
And what child out in the backwoods wouldn't be complete without a playhouse? Because they had to have somewhere to go to leave mom alone when there's no TV.
Oh, definitely. And this whole place is just so pretty. And another great gazebo.
Yeah, that's one of the smaller ones. I think it's actually on the site.
It is.
All I did was replace some of the boards with the colored boards, because I love gazebos, and the first one was so big that it didn't fit anywhere, so I started trying to make smaller ones.
Yeah, this one is on there broken into 2 parts. There's a top and a bottom. I used the top in one of my builds. So what made you start Dimension Addicts?
Well, what happened was, I have some mild brain damage, which causes, it's a lot better now, as the years pass and the more and more things that go through, it seems to start slowly healing. But I could not look at other sites and see what the items were because they get all mixed up. And I was upset and crying one day because I wanted to see all the items and I couldn't see them. And my friend Cordelia said, well, why don't you just make your own so you can add your own colors and your own text so that you can see it? And I was like, oh, I could do that. And once we got into it, it was such a big project, I decided to share it openly. And everybody just liked it. And I didn't want to overpower the other sites because the other sites everyone was using, but they all kind of just drifted off, and I just continued adding, all the new items and everything as I could. But yeah, it had started to as something to base around my brain damage so that I could see and understand stuff that everyone else was being able to use.
Well, it's definitely one of the handiest sites out there, especially if you like dimensions, because it lets you know, the database lets you know where everything comes from.
Yeah, and I apologize to everyone for being so behind, like on the Dreamweaving since 3.0. I now have everything on there. I do not have all the pictures. I do not have all of the movies because my real life has been kind of bonkers since probably July. Last year at this time, we had an issue where I had almost died, and so I was also up to a weight where I could no longer walk without assistance. I had to use a walker, and so we decided that that was going to change, and it started slowly, but about July it started to take off, and so that I could continue on to the phase that happened last month, which was finally getting my bariatric surgery. And now that's going, I've been able to spend more time in Rift.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad that you're in a healthier place.
Plus, I take forever to build a dimension. When I know we're not going there because it's so big, but when I had built Hello Kitty's Guild Hall, I had started in July, and it went until December. And every spare moment that I had was actually in their building, but it was so big.
Yeah, I was just in there earlier, and that is a huge dimension. Very well done, especially if you're into arenas and PvP. Then I highly recommend checking out the Hello Kitty Guild dimension.
Just don't jump into the arena. You won't get out. There's a couple of spaces left for invisible tiles, but I didn't have the money to buy them to keep you from falling in the arena. But if you get in, you're probably not getting out. So.
So what's up with all the fairy stuff up the hill from the little cottage itself?
Well, when I first built this, one of the first things that I had created was the little teeny tiny fairy houses down in the bottom corner. And they're the ones that we use for the site, it's like the logo and stuff. And I loved them. And everybody comes in and misses them. They don't see them at all. So when they just see a couple of shiny mushrooms. So when they increased the item count, I thought, I'm going to build a whole fairy village, and somebody is going to see that their house is eventually. So that's where the fairy village came from, because I had all the fair cages and that one little tiny mushroom village, and even when Elrar came in, because people a lot of times just barrel through and they go to what looks like the neatest, and they don't always see the little itty-bitty details, because they don't know what they're looking for or what they're looking at. And so I added a whole village in hopes of people going, holy cow, and then they go back and go, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because, the little house at the bottom of the hill is probably one of my favoriteest things that I've built.
Yeah, I like all your dimensions, but this one has got to be my favorite, just for the shape of the house, the way that the house is built, because I know it's been, when it comes to house building, you're a huge influence on how I've built, which is typically to go smaller instead of bigger, to try to cram all that detail in that small space, because that's what the item limit allows.
Yeah, and that's I love building in smaller. That was why Hello Kitty's Guild Hall was so difficult because it was so big. When Predict asked to have it built, he requested to have all of the original Dimension covered, and I was like, what? You're kidding, right? Your golem is kind of big. Unfortunately, I ran way out of item count building that because some of the places are so barren. It's, I just feel bad. And all of my builds always have sweet in them in one way or another. I don't know. I got hooked on it, and I continue just that way. Yeah, I started building I was trying to build what is supposed to be it's supposed to be like your tiny, a little Fae house. I haven't even come close to finishing it, but I had to build these giant trees out of the bridges, and so eventually I'm hoping to finish that one day.
That's the one that's in your Faring Woods?
Yeah. I had left it open to friends to be able to see. It's nowhere near complete, but it's closed now. Because I'm like, I'm not finishing it yet. I seem to start a lot of them and not finish them because I'm like, oh, I could go do this, and I start another one.
Yeah. And when you build, you don't use toolbox for building, is that right? I know you didn't used to.
No. Yeah, I didn't used to, but now, once I discovered toolbox, I will put everything together and then I'll straighten it out after with toolbox, because I don't know, it's just nicer to straighten it. But at first I started on a grid because I didn't understand toolbox, because a lot of the numbers, when I look at numbers, they get very confusing, because they start to change their shape when I concentrate on them. So I used to put everything on a grid, and save the grid, and then I would turn it after it was on the grid. But now I'll put it on the grid, straighten it with toolbox, because now I know it's just 80, 90, or not 80, 90, 120, different things like that to move the items, and then I'll pick them up and put them where I want them. But I use that save function a lot.
Oh yeah. And that's one of the other benefits for Dimension Addicts, is being able to share those toolbox sets, because I know there's a lot of things that I just can't figure out how to make or whatever, and then that's like the go-to place to try to find something.
Yeah, and the reason that we started adding the toolbox sets was because I found that there were a lot of people who couldn't build, but they wanted a nice dimension. And I thought, well, I don't mind sharing anything that I have, and I don't mind if they use it. And so I thought it would be nice to share. Unfortunately, I'm one of the least adders to the site of anyone because I'm so bad at remembering to do it. I have a long list of things I want to put up, but my memory is just, and it's gone. I'm a spur of the moment type person. That's why I told Diva, make sure you have a backup, because if I flake, you need somebody or something else to do it here for this hour.
And here you are.
I know. I did not sleep last night. I went to bed at 4 a.m. and I woke up at 9. I was like, I gotta get up. I'm gonna miss it.
Nope. You were right on time. But the next dimension on the list is one that's a real departure from this kind of style, and it's much larger and more ornate. The next one we're going to is Sweet Snow Keep. So what was the inspiration behind this one?
I wanted a castle, and it just happened to be Yule time, or close to it. Well, close to it to me was September, and I started building the castle, and it just seemed perfect to add the Yule stuff in because it's a snowy area. And I don't know, I just fell in love with it when I was building it. It was probably one of my harder builds. Not everything lines up. I think it's harder mentally because it didn't go together how I wanted it to. So
Yeah, the one thing I noticed when dealing with all of the wall curves, and it doesn't matter what kind they are, is that they don't line up when you try to make circles out of them.
yeah, that drove me bonkers, but I did the best I could and tried.
Hey, that's all anyone can do. I mean, it looks great, especially with the lacy
Yeah.
tables.
Oh, yeah, that's one of my top favorite items. I would spend weeks fishing for these. Actually, I probably spent a month fishing for these because I need windows, and they're my favorite windows, so.
What would be awesome would be if we could just get like the tabletop without the legs.
I would love the tabletop without the leg. I would also love to have wood that is the same color as the tables themselves, just the wood planks, etc., because it's a really beautiful color. I would also like to get the plain mahogany as a wood too.
Oh, definitely. And the wood off the wide and narrow library cases.
Yes. So yeah, that's the little princess room. I just I always have to try to put a little kid's room in there because the whole point was the princess, and then I was like, oh, she's gotta have parents. Crap, I better make another room.
Yeah, parents are kind of a necessity.
Yeah.
Or you could have done a Lord of the Flies castle where it's just the kids with no parents.
Oh. Yeah, when I was creating this, I went through and I used a lot of Google. This was probably the first build that I really used Google on, because I wanted to try and make it as close to real as I could. It was kind of hard because I'm like, how the heck am I supposed to make that? And a lot of people come in. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but it turned out really well, especially this stove top here.
Yeah, but I learned a lot from Google. I didn't know that they made little tiny fires on top of things to build, like, cook with the pots and stuff like you would, on your normal stove. I was just baffled. And then I have a lot of people who go, why is there a bed in the kitchen? Well, your cook, maid slept somewhere, and they didn't have their own rooms most of the time. They slept in the kitchen, which was probably the best place in an ice-cold area because, it always had a nice warm fire.
Yeah.
Oh, and the drop loo. That was one of my favorites to build. The entire time I was building it, I was laughing because all I was thinking of was putting my little brothers underneath on the outside and tricking them to stand there. And I have a lot of little brothers, so that would have been great in there.
Yeah.
I am an evil sister. I've always been an evil sister. you know, but they were evil brothers, so.
And here's the parent suite.
Yeah, and I really wanted it to be different, which is why I used the black. I don't know, I thought it looked better in the black. And you'll notice a lot of this there's a lot of extra pieces in here because there's a lot of boggling lights in here. Because when I put in we didn't used to have the weather stoppers. And so I wanted it to be dark in this dimension because it's a Fayule dimension. But when I put in the sky, I realized that it was too dark and nothing would light up the area except the boggling lights, so I had to hide them in everything.
Yeah.
I would like to come back through next Fayule and redo this and add in a weather blocker and just put it at nighttime. That would also give me a nice chunk of item count to use. So yeah, a lot of this one is a lot darker than I would like it, but I couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed about the Space Sky projector is it is very, very dark. And you were lucky enough to get these, the candy canes.
Yeah, I really thought that they would bring them back, you know, after a couple of years. Hopefully they will bring them back next year, knowing that they missed them this year.
Hopefully.
Did you not get the candy cane?
No, I came back right at the tail end of Fayule, so I didn't, I missed out. I wasn't signed up for the newsletter then. And hell.
Yeah, and all these windows... Oh, sorry.
I was to say hell, back then I didn't even know what a dimension was.
Oh, yeah, all of the windows around there I wanted lacy tables, but by the time Fayule came, it was too late, so I just used the other ones that are close. I like those, too. I wish they didn't have legs, too.
Yeah, those are nice. I've used them once. Well, no, I just tore down the last one I used them in.
Yeah, one of the first things I ever built was in beta, and it was cabinets out of those. And I just fell in love with them, and I took it down and hid it because I wanted to add it. And then I had made a Fayule dimension right before the Joys of Dimension contest, but we could only have one dimension back then. And I didn't think about making an alt to build, so I had ripped it down and just put the sweethearts up. Which, kind of glad I did, you know, because now I don't have to play on my older computer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was horrible to build on because I'd try and move a piece and the next day I knew it was way over there. And you totally can't see me pointing way over there, so...
I love this Fayule chandelier that you've got going on in here.
Yeah, it was fun to make. There was things I had thought I had wanted to do to it, but I was really happy with how it turned out. I wish that everybody could see the top, you know, all the time, but you can't see the top because of all the candles on it. It looks prettier from the top. But if you turn the candles upside down, then, you know, you burn down the castle, so...
Here we go. I might be far enough back out now to be able to see the candles. I know I can see the candles. And I think that makes it really stand out, especially because it's on it's against a black background.
It's actually not a black background. It is the snow oval mounds. I don't know how it turned black, but it did. I think it's because it's so high up in the shadow that it looks black.
Probably.
But it's actually snow oval mounds.
But this is a great looking dimension, and really outside the realm of what I was used to seeing from you, but not quite as much as what our last one is. So we got about 10 minutes left, which is about perfect amount of time to squeeze in one last one. And I'm not even going to try to butcher the pronunciation of this.
Me either. So we're just going to call it is Sweet Family Shrine. However, it is in Mandarin, so it does not look like that under any circumstance. This one I had wanted to make an Asian garden, and the item count actually didn't allow me to go any further because, like, the whole bridge used to be just planks, a whole bunch of planks, but I ended up adding, you know, a big solid piece. And when I created it, I thought, you know, well, my fiance, he's he's Taiwanese, well, American, but his family is Taiwanese. And so when I created it, it was when we started first exploring all the different things around our home for his culture, and it inspired me. And then, you know, I just went from there to create it.
Well, this turned out beautifully well.
I always try to take people here first because it's a small one. When they're like, well, I want to see what, you know, like if they've never seen any, I try to just bring them here because I know a lot of people, they are trying to be nice and they want to, you know, to be polite. So I take them to a small one so that they don't have to go to my billions of areas. But then they usually want to go anyway.
I love this
Yeah,
bridge.
don't look at that lantern. I love this bridge too. It was, I had a lot, it was more intricate, but you know, this is Sanguine Shores, so you can't really be too intricate in here.
And this little guy.
I know. Well, we got those pandas for mounts, and I was like really excited because I saw panda, so I bought it. And I was like, "It's not panda. What the hell is this thing I'm on?" I'm like, I want to go make my own. So for a long time, I pouted in here sitting on it. Yeah, it was fun to make.
Well, he looks really good. This whole place looks really good. I mean, you would never guess it to be, one, in Sanguine Shores, and two, such a low item limit.
I love it when, you know, and it was also the first build where I tried to block anything in, you know, and so that it could look different. And I always find that everybody always tries to go out the rock right here. It's like, and you're like, oh, you're not going anywhere. You're stuck. Forget that. But I had to have an entrance because it just can't be like, oh, here it is. How do you get here? So.
I like the starter dimensions now they're great for like personal challenges or, you know, ways to just like express a very small theme.
Yeah, I actually I would love to make a bigger build in this dimension itself. I also would like to make a bigger build in the Defiant one too. But yeah, that one's not done either. But I think you've been there too. The summer camp that's not finished.
I think I have.
Yeah, I have a lot of them. I always start like every contest. I start a dimension, and then it never gets finished. So like I have this giant half-done statue for the Roman and Greek one. I have, I just have all these dimensions that are like, and then I'll go to replace the dimension. I'm like, oh crap, there was something in that one.
Excuse me. Well, I love this little shrine.
Yeah, it was, once it started going together, it really started to come together. I just found all the pieces, and I would like to make a bigger Chinese dimension, but well, I guess the one thing that was stopping me was the firecrackers and the lanterns were so expensive. I really love Minions because they have just made my thoughts of building explode.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Right now, the one thing I'm working on is I'm making a butterfly house so that if I ever get the butterflies open, but then I don't know if I'll be able to afford more butterflies because I mean they do have a kind of a high cost
Yeah.
in both the horseshoes and the currency, or the credits. It's unbelievably high. I would totally have bought a ton of them if it wasn't.
Yeah.
I would have found somebody who could do it if they weren't so high.
I unlocked the butterflies and then I bought a second one and I was like and I paid lucky
Yeah.
coins. I paid lucky coins because that credit cost for one flower was just ridiculous.
Yeah, I wish that they would relook those because I won't buy one flower for that cost, but if they made it so I could buy 10 for that cost, I would probably buy 50. You know. I just I love I could put butterflies in every dimension and I would be ecstatic.
Yeah, yeah, and the butterflies are actually they're a really nice reward. I like those much better than I did, say, the dragonflies.
I liked the dragonfly lily itself too a lot. I really wish that would come out as a separate flower. Maybe I should just make this big long wish and hope that somebody would love them and say, yeah, no, that's a good idea. Let's do that. But yeah, some of the credit costs I wish would come down so that we could purchase a lot more of the items that we would purchase, where now I won't purchase any of them, I just don't see spending $10 or almost $10 for one butterfly flower to, you know.
Yeah.
And I do view Rex as credits, so even if I bought Rex, that's still credits to me,
Oh, yeah.
So it's still $10.
That
But
it
yeah.
definitely is.
And just so everybody knows, as soon as I get the items from the Chronicle, I'm trying to buy the artifacts, but either they're too expensive or they're not there. As soon as I get them, I'll get, images of them up on the site. I know all of us would love to see what the heck they look like.
Well, one of the Spawnling, I saw that in on Greybriar. And I've seen the male guard. The only one I haven't seen out yet is been the female guard.
Yeah, those artifacts are hard to get. it's, I don't know. I'll get them eventually. I know I will. A Rex goes from anywhere between, I know that this is probably, you're going to see this really late because of the Twitch lag. It goes between about 1,200 plat to 1,500 plat on Deepwood. Oh, thank you, Acid.
And here we are. It is noon server. So we've finished up about right on time. I want to thank everyone for watching today and being patient through our technical difficulties at the start. I apologize for that. Normally, we would have it squared away much earlier than being late. Thank you, Kitasia, for taking the time to come on with me today.
Thanks for inviting me. I was kind of shocked. So.
And next week, we'll be back on the European shard of Galidra to take a tour of the dimensions of Colette. If you haven't had a chance yet, I would strongly suggest you take the time to tour those in person. He's got a version of the Alien Queen that is just wow. That's all I'm going to say. So we will see you next week at 11 Pacific, and take care for now.